Yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, perfect. As people continue to trickle in, thank you everyone for attending this webinar on 25.4. Some of the topics that we're going to cover today are better lineage diagrams, smarter notifications, and ML models. And at the end of it as well, we'll get a little sneak peek into 26.1. Feel free to drop your questions into the chat. We should have plenty of time for questions today. I'll make sure that I keep an eye on that. And if the question is relevant to what Richard or Hubert is talking about, I'll go ahead and get that answered for you. And then we'll also have some time at the end for questions as well. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Richard, to take it away.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody who took the time to join today. So as mentioned, we're going to do just a quick overview of some of the new features in version 25.4. So as always, we're going to follow an agenda here. We'll be doing these that are in blue, and Hubert will take the ones that are in orange. All right. So the first item here is breaking changes, things that are going to break your system if you upgrade without taking these things into consideration. This is the most important part of the entire presentation today. So if you forget everything else, please remember these things. In order to upgrade to 25.4, you will need to be running .NET version 9. Previously, it was .NET version 8. So that is required, the .NET 9. And the minimum server, SQL Server version now is 2016, where before it was 2012. When you upgrade, it will prompt you if these things are missing. It will tell you and say there's an issue. So you're not gonna actually break it, but you have the potential of having a delay while you get some infrastructure in place before you can finalize an upgrade there. So if you forget everything else, please remember this. Okay, the next thing to talk about is the browser extension. You probably remember from version 25.3, we introduced the browser extension, which works with Power BI and also with Tableau. So when you're looking at your report, this one is Power BI. When you're looking at a report there is a side panel on the right-hand side that shows you the catalog information specific to that report. So you can see here, we're looking at the market share report, and we're looking at the market share section of the catalog, and we have all of that information there. The thing that is new here is adding search capability. And you can see up there in the upper right-hand corner, there is that search icon. If you click on that, it's going to change that side panel so that you can actually search and get results visible right there, again, without the need to jump out and log into Dataedo directly. So in this example, we see on the left where we've searched for the word sales, and we can refine that search, same as in the advanced search in Portal. And in the middle, you see we have results here. The result pane will show up to 3 objects for any given type. So you can see for the data domains, we have 3 of them listed right there. And then when there are more than the 3, we have the show more button. You click on that and it expands so you can see the full list. And then you simply click on the one that you want, make your selection and click, and you get the panel on the far right where we have the details about that. And of course, the details will differ depending on what type of object you've selected. And notice, I'm still on the right, you can see those links, the buttons, where you can click and open that object in Dataedo. So you can, at the top, go to the object itself or skip a step and go to the data quality for that object in this case. So this allows you to very easily access the catalog and get to information more easily. I will just reiterate, To use the browser extension, you do need to configure it on your browser to access the portal. That means you need to put in the portal URL for your catalog, and you need to log in. The login session is 12 hours, I believe. So basically, you would be logging in once a day in order to keep this system of the browser extension working. All right, improved lineage diagrams. This is where we're going to spend most of our time today. And here's what it looks like. I'm going to actually go to a live view and show what it looks like over here. So I am in Portal, live view, as you can see, and we're going to find a lineage right here. All right, so there's the lineage. As you know, you can change this and make your screen bigger and all of that. I'm going to go through how to use the lineage palette here completely because the controls have moved and they have changed a bit. So I'm going to start with the basics and then work up to what the new functionality is. So the first thing, of course, is when you begin in lineage, one object is the focus called the base, and that is labeled specifically right there. You can see that's the base. Then from there, we can expand that lineage to the right and to the left. So to the left, of course, is inflows, and we have a control right there. It used to be on the left. It's now here on the right. So this just expands that out one row at a time or one layer at a time. We can do the same thing going to outflows, extend that out to the right until, of course, you get the full lineage there, the full end-to-end lineage all the way from sources, transactional system through the warehouse and the mart all the way to the reporting at the end. Now here's where things start to change a little bit. I'm gonna reset this. Anytime you want to reset your lineage view, just refresh your browser. I'm going to refresh that and take me back to that basic view where I started. So previously, if you wanted to see the columns that were in these tables, for example, there was a control right here on the object where you would click it and expand that. There was also a button at the top that was show all columns, and you could do that. Now we're going to use instead the expand all nodes, and this does several things. The first thing it does is it shows me the columns that are involved in this lineage, meaning the columns that are present in the base table and are involved in lineage going out. Notice down here, I do have some that do not have lines going out in the lineage. Those are over here where we can say show all columns or just those in the lineage. So we can choose between those. These are showing actually because they're coming in, they're not going out. But if I use this show all columns, you can see some here, like these that are gray, that are not involved in the lineage moving into that base table. So you have that choice to find those. And this is important. It's in that settings gear. It's under that settings gear where you find that. It used to be, like I say, in a button up here at the top. So if you can't find it, check the settings. The other thing, I'm going to collapse those and go back to this view. The other thing you used to have is show all processes or show processes. That is now also over here in the settings where we turn on the processors or turn off the processors. These two right here are stored procedures, and you can see they're showing now with processors turned on, or I can turn them off and they are removed. So it's that difference between the technical view and the business-friendly view. All right. As I mentioned, you can use the refresh browser right there anytime to take you back to this basic lineage focused on that base table. As you know, you can also expand your palette here, make it full screen like that. so you can see more, have a bigger working space to work with. And that is simply a toggle. We can hit that again to come back to the plain view right there. The next thing I want to talk about is those things that have been added in this version. You may notice right there, there's some things here that probably don't look familiar. And to explain these better, I'm going to go to a different lineage right here. All right. So here we have examples of these things that are new. Again, we're looking at a table. The object is table level. And so we have these things like the pill where it says GDPR or the pill where it says PII. What that means is somewhere in this table, there are columns that are classified as GDPR or PII. And to say what those are, we simply hover. Right there, you can see those 4 columns that are classified PII. And as it turns out, it's the same 4 that are GDPR. But that way you can see, where you have that classified or regulated data right from the lineage diagram. Now I'm going to expand this, and now it's showing those columns and telling me what they are right there. The next thing you can see here is, obviously, we've got that red icon with the exclamation, like a warning. If we hover over that, we get, I'm sorry, I can't zoom in on that hover. It says at least one data quality rule in the lineage either failed to meet conditions, the rule failed, you have data that does not meet the rule, or ended with an error, meaning there was a problem with the SQL checking the code or checking the quality. So that tells you that. And down here, it tells you exactly which column it was that failed. It was the postal code column right there. And there you have a bit of detail about it. It's telling us that column has a data quality score of 81%, a quality ratio of 0, meaning we have one rule and it failed. So the ratio is the number of rules that passed or failed. The score is the number of rows that passed or failed. The other thing to look at here, I'm going to hide these columns again. This +3 right there, that is telling us that we have badges applied to this table. And so when I hover over that again, it's going to tell me which badges are. It's just the icon. But if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see the green one is master data, the red one is critical data, the yellow one is certified data. So it tells us at a glance where we have, for example, master data or certified data, which could be useful if you're looking at a full lineage and something at the end is not certified and the things upstream are certified. Then you could look at it and do some investigation and figure out, should it be certified or is there a problem with that table, with that data? So that allows you to very quickly dig in and get information about the data at a glance. You don't have to go to every item to look at it and answer those sorts of questions. The next thing I want to talk about here is navigation around the lineage diagram. So right here, I'm going to choose a column and go to the lineage. All right. So you can see we are looking at a column here that is in blue. It means that is where the focus is, and it's in this base table, the transaction table. So it's showing us that. And from there, we can say, I want to move up and put the focus on the table itself, not on the column. Notice there is no option here to show other nodes because column is the most granular you can get. You can't show anything else. It's already granular. But if we want to move upward, that icon right there, click on that. And now the table has focus. And we have the expand all nodes option again, where we can show all of the columns within it. We can also go up again and look at this at the database level right there. And notice we have this data quality indicator in there. We could investigate if we wanted to. We can still go up farther and get the general view of the systems. Basically, this is no focus. This is just all of the systems and how they fit together. So you can very easily move up through those. One thing to know here, I mentioned refresh your browser to go back to the base view. Since we've changed focus, that there is no record of where you were when you started this, but you can always just go back in your browser to page back through these to get to where you want to be. So we have that. The final thing to talk about here is navigation icons. So you're going to notice, like for this table, we have a couple of icons right here. You're going to recognize this one. It is a lineage icon. You click on that to change the focus to this table. In other words, the new one becomes the base. You could do this to a table. We could do it to columns. We could do it over here to a report, a data set, anything. Basically, just change the base and redraw the diagram. The next one is this one with the magnifying glass. I don't know if you can see it right there. What this does is it shows us a view very similar to the browser extension, actually. I click it and we get that side panel with the catalog information about that object. So we can be looking at the diagram, but see details about a particular object at the same time. We can do these same activities for the columns. We could jump to the column lineage, or we could jump to the column summary information on the right. It is a toggle, so you can turn it off right there. Very easy to move around those things. That also applies to the procedures. So right here, we do have a process moving data. We can click on that, hopefully. Okay, I'm not getting it. We'll try over here. Right there. In this case, there are two flows, two processes involved in this. You select the one you want, and there it is. We get the script right there. You can see the whole script. So it lets you see, again, what's actually going on with the data and this movement along the lineage. The other things you're going to recognize, these are primary keys or unique keys there. And there's other things you're going to see as you go through here, which are pretty self-explanatory. But the idea is you can now get a lot more information off of the lineage diagram than you ever could before. All right. Let's go back here. All right, the next thing to talk about is notifications. And what this means is that, as we've been promising for a while, we've had notifications in the app where you as a user are notified about changes to objects that you're following. This has now been expanded, and you can get these notifications by email also. So let's switch over here again and show where this is at. If I go to my account, click on my picture up here, I get that accounts page, go to the notification tab, and this is the same picture I was just looking at a minute ago. And I'm sorry, I can't zoom in here. Hopefully you can see it. But basically, you just select which notification types you want to subscribe to. So maybe I don't want to be notified at all of metadata import task failures. Or if I do, or if I want only email, whatever that is, you just set this up. You don't have to click save. You hit it and it automatically saves. So you have that immediately. The items here to talk about, there's kind of groups of these. The first one, the data quality rule failure. What that means is you will be notified when the data itself fails a rule. For example, if you have a rule that a key column cannot contain duplicates or nulls or whatever, and it fails that rule, then you will be notified. The next several here are about the task failures. So this is important for the person who is managing connections and importing and refreshing metadata. If any of these tasks fail, then there would be a notification. Schema changes, you're going to recognize this from that schema changes tab that exists in desktop and portal that reports if there's a new table or a column has changed names or data types. Any of these schema change items that we're used to seeing on that tab will be notified using this item here. Down here, we've got comments. If there are comments added to objects that you're following, and related to that, if you are mentioned in any of those tasks or things like that, or someone assigns you a role, that's another one. So basically, your way of being interacted with in the catalog. Object updates. This is if someone makes changes to objects you're following, change a description, add an owner, any of those things. You will be notified of those changes. And the last one, of course, if someone assigns a task to you in a workflow, then you would be notified of those. And of course, the value of this is that you don't have to log into the system to find out if any of these things have happened. You will get that email notification. A couple of comments about this. You're going to notice, you probably already noticed at the top, I've got an error right here. It says SMTP is not configured. Emails won't be sent. You must have the SMTP configuration done in order for this notification system to be operational. That is done by a portal administrator. They do it over here in settings, right there, system settings, the email tab right there. And they will complete this, basically registering Dataedo with that SMTP host so that Dataedo can generate and send these email notifications. So if you're wanting to use the notifications and if it's giving you this error like that one, you need to talk to whoever is the portal administrator and make sure that email configuration is completed. The other one here is that in order to receive notifications about an object, you need to follow the object. You need to click the notification icon. Let's go ahead and go and look at one. So right here, you can see I have already followed this table right there. You can see I hope you can see the icon. It has a blue background on it, telling me that I have followed this. If that is turned off, obviously that blue background would disappear. When you are signing up or following an object for notifications, it will follow that object and any children of that object. For example, if you sign up for a domain, to follow a domain, you will automatically be receiving the notifications for any objects linked to that domain. If you follow a database, you'll get the database and all of its children. So that is hierarchical, it is inherited. When you turn them off, you can choose to turn off only the object or everything. So something to be aware of, and just know that you are going to get those children, notifications about the children when you sign up for those. Yeah, so just remember, when you do the notifications, you do need to follow to receive the notifications. All right. Next thing is a new navigation view, which is designed to more closely agree or represent what you see in your sources. So this is an example here where this is Power BI, where rather than showing all of the object
Richard,
type,
we have the question.
Sure.
Okay, so are the notifications rolled into one email or individual emails?
One email. It's one email that's sent. So again, that's the reason why you want to be selective about what you sign up for. You don't want an email that is 5 miles long. All right. Yeah, so on the navigation menu here, you have the choice of seeing the normal view we've always seen, let's go ahead and go look at one of these. We can use this example right here. This is the view that we've always used, what everybody is familiar with. You have a group of tables, there are 69 of them. You have views, there are 20 of them, and they're just listed by type. The new navigation version is you toggle it right here. And now, basically, we are seeing things more in line with what the system shows us. A table isn't a database isn't a good example here. It looks better in reporting, but you can see here, it gives us the hierarchy of how things are stored in the original source. So it's a different way to look at how your system is organized. There's an example right there. So we have this procurement analysis sample grouping of data sets, and then each of the data sets within that located right next to the report that corresponds to it. All of that is right there together. All right. Next is report popularity. I'm going to go back to where I just was, right here. And if I open this report, I focus on this report, you can see there's a new controller right there. It's a pill that says popularity on it. If I hover over that, I get this summary of how much use this report is actually getting. And in this case, it's been used one time by one person in the last month. And so this allows you as an administrator, for an example, to tell which reports are being used, which are not, or as a user, if you have two reports that seem to be very similar and one is used all the time and the other one is used very rarely, then you kind of know which one is the one that's accepted and more used. So that will be created for you. To do that, you actually have to enable it in desktop in the import options. So if you're not seeing that, go to the import options in desktop and make sure that import report usage is enabled. And then the next time you import, it will go back and get that report usage calculated for you. All right, and with that, I'm going to hand off to Hubert to continue talking about the ML flow.
Starting with ML model documentation, we wanted to bring to you the option to document your machine learning environments, and we wanted to start with the basics. So we wanted to start with the regular machine learning models, not the AI agents. So you can document your forecasting models, your anomaly detection models, your kind of classification models you use in your company environment, and to import them to Dataedo. In the later version, we would like to also bring the option to document the agents itself, but we wanted to start with the most basic of machine learning fields, so the most regular machine learning models, and we created two connectors for that. The first one is Azure Machine Learning Connector. So if you are using Azure for your registry for your machine learning models, then you can use this connector to import them. And also for more of the on-premise environments, we prepared the ML Flow connector for you to be able to import your models, your model versions, your data sets. And we decided to go with the model cards idea. This idea is to document the machine learning models with the text. So you have the text and you include all of the information about it in the text format instead of some kind of more tabular way, because machine learning models have a lot of properties. They are completely unstructured, and it would be hard, and you wouldn't be able to find those information if they were in some separate tabs. So we decided to use this model card idea to represent these models and you can place in these descriptions, for example, if you know about some bias of the model, to include it into the description, into the model card. Okay. The next new change from the metadata part is the new connectors in Portal. So we wanted to allow you to import multiple data at once, which Portal allows, but desktop not yet. Desktop not. And we created the new connectors in the Portal, so you can import them, define all of the import information inside of the Portal instead of the desktop, and you can do it now also for Databricks, Tableau, SSRS, and SSIS, and also the Azure Machine Learning and MLflow. And going with the improvements, starting off with the Power BI, as already Richard mentioned, we wanted for you to be easier to navigate, like in the tool itself. So, for example, if someone is not use Dataedo much, now he can use this navigation tab where he navigates like in the Power BI itself. And to do that, we started importing folders, but also we did two other changes for Power BI, and they are the major improvement in measures lineage, and also the improved lineage for OneLake. If you are using OneLake, then the lineage should be better. Similar thing for Tableau. We started importing projects to be able to show the hierarchy. And also with that, we created the option to navigate like in the Tableau. And two other changes are we started importing initial SQL and parse it to create the lineage. So if you are using it to prepare environment for you with Tableau, now you can see it as a separate object, not just miss it like it was before. And also we majorly improved the lineage for custom SQL virtual connection tables and regular virtual connection tables. If you do some customization, you do some complex SQL, we can parse it and create lineage. So now the lineage should be much better in Tableau for those cases. The Snowflake. So with this version, we started importing all of the data lineage you already got in Snowflake. So if you are using Snowflake and you see the lineage side of Snowflake, now with the import changes on the new version of Dataedo, this lineage will be imported to Dataedo, and you will have the same lineage you got in Dataedo in Snowflake. But Dataedo, for example, views will also provide you some information like transformation. So it will be a little bit more than you have in your Snowflake environment. And also, as a note, you can use Snowflake Enterprise Lineage Connector to import all of the SQL server, all of the SQL scripts that created the lineage to Dataedo and see the lineage that they were created. So instead of just seeing the lineage from table A to table B and not knowing why this lineage happened, what was the transformation, what was done here, if you use this connector, you will also see the query that created the lineage. And this was added a few versions ago. Okay, next changes is in AWS Athena. We added data quality support. We wanted to provide this data quality feature to as many connectors as possible. So if you got some connectors you are using and you miss this feature, you can reach out to us, and we will try to add this data quality feature to this connector. And we also created two new authentication methods. First one is AM role-based authentication, and the second one is AWS STS authentication. And the same thing was with IBM DB2 Loof. We created data quality for this connector as well. So now you can define the rules and check them against your database. And the last thing is the interface tables changed. Now we parse all of the provided scripts inside of the interface tables. And this is pretty interesting one, because if you're able to save scripts from your environment, for example, you can use query store for SQL Server, and you can save them, and then you can load them inside of this inside of the interface tables and trigger the import. Then we are able to parse all of them and create lineage based on that. So if you're using a lot of dynamic SQL and we are currently unable to parse them in the static moment when we do just SQL Server import, then it could be the way for you to have the lineage from those dynamic SQL if you save those queries and then provide them to us through interface tables so we can parse them. Okay, so that's all from the changes from the metadata team. But going next are sneak peeks for 26.1. And before I start, I wanted to just note that these things are mockups, so the UI could change, and also they could be moved to the later version, not exactly the 26.1. Probably the most major features will be in 26.1, but those more minor one probably could. There is possibility that they would be moved to the later versions. I see there is a question. Can we create an interface table for importing data quality rules? I'm not sure if I understood it correctly, because interface tables are some kind of tables inside of our repository. When you load all of your tables from other environments, procedures, and then you can automatically import them as it was a regular Dataedo connector. So I'm not sure about what you mean by importing those data quality rules. Maybe you, Richard, no?
Yeah, so Hubert, she's probably asking about just a bulk loader, I think is probably
okay.
a bulk loaded list of the data quality rules. Cheryl, if that's not right, go ahead and correct me, but I think that's what you mean. If that is the question, then the answer is not right now. You create your data quality rules directly in Portal, but with the previous version, we did introduce that ability to process the rules for up to 50 columns at the same time. So basically the same type of a rule you can apply to lots of columns and set them up at the same time. You're going to still, define the details for each individual column, but rather than going through the entire process end to end 50 times, you do all 50 through the process at once. So it's not 1/50th of the time, but it's certainly not the full amount of time if you're doing them all end to end. But no, there isn't a bulk loader for those, at least not yet. Okay, back to you, Hubert.
Okay. So the first new feature is manual lineage in Portal. So with the 26.1 version, you will be able to add missing lineage directly on the Portal diagrams instead of relying on desktop app. This is gonna be the first step to the lineage in Portal, because in this version you will not be able to define everything like in desktop, the processors and more complex things. But the first step is to be able to the most simple ones, and you just see that there is some missing lineage and just add the object that is missing to the lineage diagram and save it. And the next big feature is the data-aware classification and semantic types. And what does this mean? Is that we're gonna, instead of just looking into the column names like we do it currently to decide how to classify it, we're gonna look, if you allow us, because you can just switch off this feature and use the old mode when we just look into column names, into the metadata. But if you allow us, then we're gonna look inside of the 1,000 rows of your data, and based on those 1,000 rows, decide it could be the first name, it could be the last name, it could be the region, it could be the country, maybe phone number, and based on that, link it to some kind of semantic type. So the semantic type is the kind what semantically type of the object is. And also based on the semantic type, we can automatically assign corresponding classifications. So, for example, let's say the first name is the personal information under GDPR, but maybe it's not under some other regulators. And you can just pin it how we should handle it, and then it's gonna be automatically created. You can of course override it. So if you decide that, yeah, but for this case, first name is not under GDPR, you can override it. But for the most cases, we automatically assign those tags. And other changes are the option to add scheduler tasks in the bulk. So instead of doing it one by one, you can do it in bulk. And the second new option is gonna be to save more rows for data quality rules. So instead of, I think it's 1,000 rows or maybe 10,000, you can define how many rows you want to save, and we're gonna save this many as you decide to. And other changes from more of the metadata are the option to navigate to objects directly from Dataedo to the corresponding environment. So, for example, you find the table inside of the Dataedo you would like to use. Instead of finding it again inside of the Snowflake environment, we're gonna provide you the link to just click it, and in the new tab, gonna open the Snowflake table you would like to use. So it's gonna be much easier for you. It's the first step for us to be able to use also those kind of tools with the browser extension. So we are also thinking about it, but this feature for browser extensions is gonna be probably in 26.2. The other new feature is we wanted to expand the source-like navigation for new connectors, and those are Strategy One, SSRS, and I miss it, but it's Power BI report services, because Power BI already got this feature in this version. We are also bringing in the connector for Fabric Data Factory, and also for some of you that are the Dataedo SaaS users, or you just have a hard time from your admins to insert data directly into SQL Server repository, we are providing the wrapper on the interface tables with public APIs. So instead of inserting through the SQL, you can insert inside of the interface tables through public API.
Hey, Hubert, we do have a question in the chat. Singh would like to see if we will have an upcoming feature to allow multiple agents to one repository.
We have this on the roadmap. We don't have the version yet in which one it's gonna be. It's gonna be probably in this year, but I can't say it for sure. But most likely it's gonna be this year, but we not decided when at the moment.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you, Hubert. If there are no questions right now, but questions do come up after watching the webinar, feel free to reach out to support for any technical questions. You can also reach out to myself at jonathan@dataedo.com for current customers. New customers or people that are looking into Dataedo, feel free to reach out to Patrick at dataedo.com. And then, of course, you can reach out to Richard for some training at richard@dataedo.com. And of course, if there's any general questions, feel free to reach out to dataedo@dataedo.com. But if that's it, if there are no more questions, thank you all for joining today.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to see you all.